Welcome on in for today's college football pick video play, heading into action for December 7th, 2019, Saturday's contest here in the Big 12 title game between the Baylor Bears and the Oklahoma Sooners. Going to give our lean on where we see the better value against the spread, with the Oklahoma Sooners on the neutral site at AT&T Stadium coming in favored by about 9 points. If you're interested in getting all of our college football picks for today's action, you can check those out over at stumpthespread.com, linked at the top of the video description. So the Sooners, they had very high expectations coming into this season, and more or less they've lived up to those, ranking 6th in the nation. They're coming into this one as rather considerable favorites, 11-1 overall through that regular season campaign. And Oklahoma, they bring in, of course, Alabama transfer QB Jalen Hurts, who has proven himself on the big stage in the past. So certainly going into the Big 12 title game, not going to be too big of a scenario for Jalen Hurts. He should be very comfortable. And Oklahoma, they bring in the clear edge on the offensive side of the ball, where they're averaging over 44 points per game. And the Sooners, they closed out the regular season on a bright note, going into Oklahoma State, a top 25 opponent, and being able to separate on that scoreboard, which they hadn't really done as much over the past month of action, where they've had a number of very competitive games. So they got past the Oklahoma State Cowboys by a final of 34-16. They're going to try to carry that positive momentum into this one, and especially in terms of stepping up on the defensive side of the ball, one of the best defensive performances that we've seen from Oklahoma in a number of weeks. And the Sooners, they should also feel good coming to this one, given the fact that they've already beaten the Baylor Bears, and that was in a true road setting, which is a bit more difficult than coming into this neutral site affair. It was still competitive, though, as Oklahoma won that one by a final of 34-31. Now, Baylor, far surpassing expectations coming into the year. Of course, coming into this season, Baylor really more or less having the expectation that maybe just reaching a bowl game would be good enough for this group, but they have far past those expectations and really played above their talent level, and that's why they're coming into this one getting 9 points, even though they have the same overall record as the Sooners, both overall and in terms of conference play. Now, Baylor, 11-1, but they've had a number of results this year where they've been highly competitive and in situations where you wouldn't necessarily expect a top 10 ranked squad to go right down to the wire, especially with home wins in conference play that were very competitive. Against Iowa State, a 2-point victory. Against Texas Tech, a 3-point win. Against West Virginia, a 3-point win. So clearly not separating like you'd typically expect a top 10 rated squad to, but they did a bit better in that department in their last couple of outings, getting past Texas by a couple of touchdowns, and then also blowing out Kansas on the road to close out the regular season by a final of 61-6. But this has been a little bit different than what we've typically seen from the Bears throughout the course of the regular season. Also, if we just go back to the non-conference, they had a very competitive win over a squad like Rice, which wasn't a great look from Baylor. So we're a little bit skeptical still on this team, even though they have put up a very strong regular season. They're not the same threat as Oklahoma on the offensive side of the ball, but still solid. They're averaging about 8 points fewer per contest, but they've also been a little bit better than the Sooners defensively, where they give up about 6 points less per game than Oklahoma. But the fact that the Sooners, they have big-time players, specifically like quarterback Jalen Hurts, who should be ready to play in a big environment, a big stage like this. We feel like that's a difference maker for them. And also Oklahoma has already proven that they can beat the Baylor Bears with that victory coming in a true road setting. So we like Oklahoma to build off the positive momentum of that 18-point victory over Oklahoma State on the road in their last outing, as the Sooners go on to win and cover this 9-point spread as they separate on the scoreboard. So again, guys, in this one, going to be siding with Oklahoma, covering the 9-point spread as the better value bet. If you agree, give the video a thumbs up. Disagree, give it a thumbs down. And you can check out all of those college football picks that we have for today over at stumpthespread.com, linked at the top of the video description.